applied to one medical school and one medical school only, and that was the only one I wanted to go to. Growing up in Greenbrier County, when the founders started the osteopathic school, nobody really knew what a DO was at that point in time. And there was a lot of prejudice, there was a lot of disparaging comments made, and there was honestly quite a rivalry between the osteopathic school and the local allopathic profession. And it was not a very, there was no collegial relationship at that point in time. And then as I grew up and I got into volunteer EMS, I was an EMT and then later on a paramedic working in the area, I got to know some of the physicians, like Dr. Paul Kleeman, like Dr. Paul Herr, Dr. Robert Foster, Dr. Bill Limley, all of these giants in medicine that took me under their wing and became my mentors when I was in EMS. And I realized that they had something different than the other doctors that I was associated with as an EMT. And as things, as I grew and as I learned, I thought, that is what I want to be like. I would like to tell you one story about how I got into medical school. And that was, I was working as a paramedic, and there was a horrible accident where a young man getting ready to graduate from high school was riding a motorcycle and was run over by a logging truck, and it was a fatality, and it was a horrible incident. And I was the paramedic that was called out to the scene. And when I realized that it was a fatality, it was part of my duty to call the medical examiner to come out to the scene. Well, that medical examiner happened to be that day Dr. Robert Foster, who came out, and he told me to, my partner and I, to get the young boy, put his body in the back of the ambulance, and we did, and he was in the back with us, away from prying eyes, doing his job. And he said, I've got to get some blood, and the only way to get blood at this point in time is I'm actually going to have to draw it out of his heart. And he got everything ready, and then he looked at me and he said, do you want me to teach you to do this? I said, yeah. And he said, he told me later on, he said, right then as I knew when I had you when you were going to medical school. The traditional allopathic route, particularly back at that point in time, was looking for someone extremely bright, right out of college, with extremely high MCAT scores, and those were the ones they thought were best suited to make it. The founders of WVSOM realized the value of, and they used the term life experience. They realized the value of life experience and felt that that would make good and compassionate doctors. So they took a look at these students that may not have had the best MCAT scores, or may have gotten a degree in something that they weren't suited for and had to go back to change their careers. And they were right in a lot of instances. These non-traditional students that came through, and they went out into communities where the coal miners could look at their doctor and say, hey, you know, my doctor understands because he was a working man, and he did this, and he understands me. And the students that had families knew what family life was like, and they could empathize with their patients. So they made for more compassionate, more empathetic physicians. Well, I'm just going to go with the word that just jumped into my head when you asked that question, which is family. Most of the time growing up, I kind of felt like I was an outsider. But when I got into WVSOM, I was just completely welcomed, and it was like, well, this is where I belong. And over the years, working with the Alumni Association and getting to know even more of the alumni than were just in my class, we've all felt that camaraderie. But it extends, it's not just the alumni, it's also the faculty, the ancillary staff, all the way down to well, everybody. And I got to say, including the patients that we take care of in the community, we're all part of the same family. What I see for the next 50 years is that we continue to fulfill our mission, which is, I know what is printed about what our mission is, and I agree with the printed mission, but the fact of the matter is, our real mission is to produce the best osteopathic physicians in the world to take care of the people of rural Appalachia. And that is what they have done. That is what they will continue to do. The only difference is that we will do it better in the future. One year, several years ago, we were at graduation, and it was when the new student center was being built and the alumni tower was going up, and it was still a skeleton. Wasn't any brickwork. It was still just the skeleton of the alumni tower. And we were getting ready to have graduation, and I was sitting in the little conference room there across from the president's office, and I happened to have the honor of sitting beside Dr. O.J. Bales, the last surviving founder of the school, who was an absolutely brilliant man with a passion for teaching osteopathy. And as he and I were looking out of the window at the alumni tower going up, at the bones of what was going to be the alumni tower, I looked at him and I said, Dr. Bales, did you ever, when you gentlemen started this school, did you ever have any idea how big it was going to be? And he looked at me like I'd crawled out from under a rock. And he said, Mark, we thought we were throwing our money down a rat hole. And that took me aback for just a second. And then I said, no, wait. I said, Dr. Bales, as one of the rats that crawled out of that hole, thank you very much.